Hey guys, I'm Lee from Lee Likes Music, the place to share, explore, and learn about rock music from Bandcamp. And in today's video, we're going to take a look at Wavves' newest album, which is called You're Welcome. So that's coming up. So Wavves, if you're not familiar with if you're not familiar with this band, they come from San Diego, California, US. They were founded back in 2008 by key member Nathan Williams. They've created a lot of different music over the years, especially during the days when they started out during 2008. They leaned very much towards no-fi and lo-fi music, some very noisy alternative rock. And later on, they also created what they're most famous for, which is a mix of surf rock and pop, punk, and alternative rock. If you listen to King of the Beach, for example, which is an amazing album, that was the first album that I discovered by them, it is easily regarded as one of my top favorite albums, top modern rock albums. On that album, they mixed together pop, punk, and surf rock. That was the main influences that they went for. But they also had so much other stuff as well. Like, they experimented so much with noise, with electronic music. You just have to check out King of the Beach. That's a great introduction to the band if you've never heard them before. Another great album by them is Afraid of Heights, that came out in 2013. This is an album that is a little bit more subtle compared to King of the Beach. It is a bit darker. It still has that surf rock, pop punk compilation blend, bricolage, I would say. There's also some electronic fuses, some noise inspirations here as well. Not as good as King of the Beach, but still a really solid effort from the band. Later on, they also released several other records, such as V. Man, that is such a passable record. I didn't like it at all. Then you also have this compilation, or this split that they did with Cloud Nothings, and I actually think that was quite an interesting record. I listened to it a couple of times. I really haven't gained that much depth into that record, but that is also something interesting that you might want to check out if you're completely new to Wavves. But anyways, enough about their previous discography. Let's talk about You're Welcome. So I was actually pretty not surprised by what they delivered. They pre-released 5 tracks. They pre-released a song called Daisy, You're Welcome, Million Enemies, Animal, No Shade. These are the names of the 5 pre-released songs that came out before the whole album was released just a day ago. And my reaction to those songs were pretty bad. I didn't like them at all. I felt like they were unoriginal. I felt like they recycled old material. I felt like it felt like they had just lost their spark and didn't know where they wanted to go as a band with their sound. During my first few listens, I didn't like Million Enemies, but that is a song that has started to rapidly grow on me now that I've listened to it quite a few times. I really like the guitar hook. I like the simplicity of the song, the driviness, the sleazy vocals, which Nathan Williams is famous for. I feel like this is a very invigorating track that is reminding me of something that they've done before, but it's also leaning towards something new, and that is the mix, the blend that I'm always looking for in music.
Every single day, every single day, anything you want is fine. I got enemies, a million enemies.
So yeah, Million Enemies was good, but I didn't like any of the other pre-release tracks. And if you haven't watched my track reviews, I actually did some reviews of the tracks, the pre-release tracks. So if you want to watch me go a little bit more in depth into those, you can check them out up here. But now, let's jump into the new tracks that we can explore on You're Welcome. So the first track is the 5th one, which is called You're Welcome? No, it's called Hollowed Out. During the first verse, we're introduced to this very sleazy and acted out vocal style by Nathan Williams. It's very sleazy and experimental in a way. We see that the band is returning to their more experimental side, I feel. There's also this glitchy, skittery intro beat, as you'll hear during the verses of the song, I believe. And then there's also this drum rimming during the choruses, which I also paid a lot of attention to. Although there is an experimental factor to the song, and there is a very simple melody and cadence to the overall song. I didn't feel like it perpetuated something noteworthy other than that. I don't feel like the song was cohesive and outstanding in any way. So again, sadly, it was a passable track. Come to the Valley is the sixth track, and it features this finger snapping, jingly 1950s, 60s doo-wop inspired melody that was just so surprising. Like, the 5 pre-release tracks, I thought that most of the album would actually sound like them, that it would be a reincarnation or a mixture or a blend of the same style as we initially heard from those tracks, but this is just so different. It features the band going towards this doo-wop, R&B, 50s, 60s style, and yeah, it's kind of interesting. I didn't feel like the track was outstanding again, sadly, but again, it was an interesting listen nonetheless. Stupid and Love is the next track, the 8th one. And what I found to be a bit interesting and noteworthy here was the oddball and weird vocal effect that Nathan Williams has on his vocals. It's quite unconventional. It sounds a bit experimental again, something that I've never heard before. What I also noticed about Nathan's vocals is just the outraging power and intensity that he put into the last phrases of the chorus, and it gives the song this unhinged, raw, and very direct feel. The mood of the song is trippy, it's striving, and it's also positive in a way. Then again, although I can describe this song with so many different words and in so many ways, I still don't want to keep it too long because, again, I feel like this song was kind of uncatchable. It was intangible. It wasn't something that I could actually listen to and say, oh man, this is cool. It was just interesting. It wasn't cool, it wasn't good, it wasn't great, it wasn't amazing, it was just interesting. Exercise and Dreams of Grandeur is the 9th and 11th track, and these are songs that the band is utilizing to go back to their roots. Exercise sees a return to their more pop punk roots, and Dreams of Grandeur is more of a surf rock, alternative rock feel of a song. I just want to sum up these songs and say that they were quite passable. I didn't get that much from them. I mean, it just feels like they recycled material, or maybe they just came up with these songs on the fly and they didn't really work that much into them. Maybe they just came up with the idea and then the song was finished, because that is what it feels like. Like they just came up with something randomly, put it on the record, and then they were done. And no replay value. It's just so passable to me. Track number 12, I Love You, is a song that goes to this inspiration that they got from doo-wop again. They're returning to something 50s and 60s pop, R&B inspired. I would almost say more of a Beach Boys inspiration, because that is really what they're going for here. The song is very similar to Come to the Valley, their previous song that was also very doo-wop, surf rock inspired. And I have to say that this is quite a surprising mix and quite a surprising left field turn for the band, and it's cool to see that they're actually going full into this sound and trying to experiment with it. That is just a very positive thing to me. I don't see it as negative in any sort of way. It wasn't really that catchy. Maybe it will grow on me when I listen to the song more. Both of these 50s, 60s inspired songs. But at the moment, I can't say that it was too outstanding. It was like the band is putting on this costume and they're wearing it, but then they take it off. It is not something that they're customizing themselves. It's just something that they put on and take off, and it's nice, it's cool, it's nice to see that they're mixing up their music and trying out new things, but again, it wasn't that attractive at all. So yeah, as a conclusion to the sound of this album, I want to say that the pre-release tracks were boring. They didn't have that much replay value if you look away from Million Enemies, which was a favorite of mine. A lot of the music here sounded like reincarnations of what they did before, but just in a worse way. They just sound a lot like copies of what they did before. Other times, their music sounded like, oh, they tried new things, and they're actually taking on new personas. They're taking on new characters and styles, and they're trying it out, but they didn't blend it with anything new. They didn't make it their own. Then you also have tracks that are just passable, that don't have any replay value. There are highlights on this record, but most of the time it's mediocre tracks and some really bad tracks. That is my overall impression of the album. I had planned to talk about the song sequencing on this album, but I really don't have anything to say about the sequencing. It's going from one mediocre track to another, and there are a few highlights here and there, as I already talked about, like Million Enemies, these 50s inspired doo-wop surf rock songs. I noticed them and I like them in a way. I think that they might grow on me, so those are the highlights for me. But otherwise, yeah, I don't have anything to say about the sequencing. It's a good flow because the tracks are cohesive. They're following the same quality almost throughout the whole album. Very mediocre, sadly. I wanted to talk a little bit about the background story for this record, but the band really haven't put out any interviews or any information, or at least not that much information about the new album since they released it. So yeah, really not that much to say. The band put out a music video for Million Enemies, which I really liked. It featured this teenage girl and this mom having an argument, and then the girl is escaping into her world of music. And of course, she's listening to Million Enemies by Wavves, and you can see the band kind of dancing back and forth in this 60s, 70s vibe, 60s environment. And it really, I really love the style and the effort that they put into this music video. That's quite nice. They also did this interview. There's one interview that they did with this old guy. I have no idea who he is, but he is hilarious. The interview is just it's one of the best interviews that I've ever seen. I'll put a link to it down below. The album was also released through Ghost Ramp. If any of you guys are interested, it is, I think it is Nathan Williams himself who founded this label, but I'm not quite sure. I remember in one of the interviews that I watched by him, he said that, yeah, this is my label, but maybe it was his label in the way that, oh, this is the label that I'm using for my band. But yeah, I have no idea. And yeah, as a conclusion to this album, I want to say that it is a ziggy-zaggy, meandering listening experience in terms of both styles and quality. It goes back and forth between pop punk, surf rock, these 60s surf rock doo-wop influenced songs. The quality is swinging more to the downward or middle ground, but it's also having some highlights here and there as well. And yeah, I'm gonna give this album a 5 out of 10. So yeah, that's it guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like to share, explore, and learn more about rock music from Bandcamp, then I highly suggest you click the red subscribe button below. Also, make sure to click the bell icon beside the subscribe button, because in that way you'll always get notified when I upload new videos to this amazing place. I also want to tell you that I have this Facebook group, or a Facebook Messenger group. That's basically what it is. So if you want to have intimate conversations with me and other music nerds on Facebook, I highly suggest you add me as a friend on Facebook. You can do that by following the link below. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you later. Stay tuned. Bye.